look, it's horizontal. That's so exciting. I've been trying for weeks to get this to work horizontally. So we did it. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything's working right. We're just going to kick this off. So today we are talking about the hidden cost of working for free. Like, what does that mean? What does it entail? When are the circumstances and the situations where we would work for free? Do we do it as adults? Do we teach our kids that they should work for free? We are just going to go over the whole thing. Now, I do want to set up a couple of things. In the past, I kind of wanted to incorporate the chat into the discussion, and I would still like to do this. But this is YouTube, and we get a lot of comments that aren't necessarily related to the discussion. And so if you do have a comment related to the discussion and you do want to see it, and you do want to talk about it, feel free to do a super chat. It'd be super awesome. I never really understood what super chats were, why they were so relevant and whatnot, but there you have it. So, all right. So what does it mean to work for free? So I'm going to give a couple examples. Number one, we hear parents, I'm going to relate this both to parenting and to adults. Like, for instance, we run a YouTube channel where we do reviews, and we are expected to work for free at the time in exchange for product reviews. So I will talk about that more in depth. We'll have a whole question and answer session about that. But really, the first thing is, let's define, what does it mean to work for free? What does it mean when we ask our children to work for free? And is that fair to ask our children to work for free? So, for instance, something that we hear a lot, we hear TV shows, we might hear our friends saying it, as adults, we might hear our friends saying it to their kids, but we say things like, well, because you're living under my roof, or because I said so, or because that's what you get in exchange for me providing you room and board, so to speak, right? Or other parents might say, well, you have to work for your room and board, right? The problem that I have with that, just intrinsically on the baseline of it, is that we have responsibilities for bringing children into the world as just a baseline, right? Baseline responsibility as a parent is to feed and clothe your children, provide them a place to live, and to take care of their needs. Definitely their physical needs, but their emotional needs also. And that can vary, right, from person to person, what they think emotional means. So in order to when we tell children, or when people tell children, a parenting style tells children, well, you have to do that because I provide a roof over your head. Well, you're kind of required to do that. These children, to be very, inorganic, they didn't ask to be brought into the world. We take on certain responsibilities when we bring children into the world. And so to tell them they have to do something because they live here, it's like, well, you chose to bring them into the world, therefore you do have to provide for their needs. And then flipping that around and telling them, hey, actually, you have to do this because I'm providing a roof over your head. It's like circular reasoning. It's like, you chose to have the child, so you have to provide these specific items for them. But then you tell the child, because I'm providing these specific items, you have to do X, Y, Z for me. But if you don't do them, are you really not going to provide them, right? We go back to here. We're really not going to provide them these specific needs. So not only is it disingenuous, right? We talked about being disingenuous last week. Not only is it disingenuous, but it's also, it's kind of abusive and gaslighting to say, you have to do these things or else. So what's the or else? You won't love them. You'll kick them out. So that's the inherent problem. I don't think any parents are saying that. So I'm not accusing any parents of anything. I don't think anybody really means that. I think basically what they're saying is, hey, you belong to our family. We all have a role to play in the family. I do think there is a better way to phrase it so that we don't teach our children not to accept value for the things that they contribute. And that's kind of where this whole discussion is leading to today, and something that's been on my mind lately. And to be fair, to be completely explicit and honest, this did not come into my mind. This was not a discussion topic that I wanted to discuss because I was thinking about parenting or thinking about my children or my teenagers or the way they act or what they do or what they don't do. The reason that it's been on my mind is because I get asked to work all the time for free. So let's talk about the other side of this, at least as it pertains to me in this discussion. So this is a YouTube channel, clearly, but I have another YouTube channel. Where I do product reviews. So I get a product, right? Like, okay, we'll just say, take this for instance. This is a talking hamster, and I review this product. And I tell you how it works. I tell you what the little specifications of it are. Does it take batteries? What does it do? And then I show off how it works. And then I show off, us playing with it. Do we like it? Do we not like it? And then that becomes a review and it goes on YouTube. And then if people are looking for this item, this talking hamster, they can get a review from me. It also includes like, does it work well? Did it break? All those things. Well, lots of times people will say, hey, do you want a talking hamster? Or not even do you want it, but we need this product reviewed. Will you review it? And then I'm like, sure. This is my fee for reviewing it. And they're like, oh, no, we just want to give you the product. And that happens every single day. Every single day, somebody is offering me something. And if I say, actually, I don't really need that product. I don't really need a talking hamster, or I don't really need a chicken shredder. Or one thing I get all the time are digital cameras for kids, but they're not. So they're kind of a cross between a digital camera and a Polaroid camera, but it's printed on receipt paper. And you can print out the photos right away on this receipt paper. We got like 3. We reviewed them. They were all different brands, exact same product. This and first review I did of this was like 3 years ago. Still getting people asking me, and I'm like, hey, I already have 3 of these. And I don't really need to review them anymore. I don't really need them. I never needed them, but I really don't need any more. And they're like, oh, well, we're only giving it to you, so we need you to do it for free. So that is the flip side of it. And the question that I have on the flip side, on this side of it, on the adult side of it is, yes, as a reviewer. So these reviews also go on Amazon and I get a commission paid off of how many products I sell. So number one, if I don't need it, it doesn't provide me any value whatsoever. There's plenty of things that I don't need, right? Like that talking hamster, say I needed it. That was not sent to us for review. We actually bought it for our child. So there's lots of stuff we'll get that we want, that we love, that are so awesome, that are like really cool and benefit our lives. But even still, those things do not pay the rent for the roof over our heads, right? Like we talked about with the kids. They don't pay the grocery bill. They don't pay the heating bill. They don't pay for soap and shampoo and hairbrushes and shoes and clothing and underwear and all the things that people need for their every toothbrushes and toothpaste. Like those are essentials. Like it doesn't pay for any of those things. Like I need those things far more than I need a talking hamster or a digital receipt paper camera. I need things that are going to benefit us on the day-to-day or meet our functional needs. So when I get asked to review all these things and I'm like, I don't need this product, and they're just like, well, too bad for you. My question is, how do you expect me to ever review your product for you and have the time to review your product for you if I can't meet my essential needs to pay the bills? So that's what brought this whole discussion about, is how do we work for free? And why do we have some professions where we're like, oh, that profession can work for free, but we wouldn't ask like a plumber to work for free. We wouldn't ask somebody to come like do the plumbing for our entire house and come do that for free to show us if they can do the work or not. But we will require that from artists, or we'll require that from designers or creative types, but we don't require that for skill set people, right? As if one thing is more valuable, that one skill set is more valuable than another. And this is something we talk a lot about in our house when it comes to pursuing the things that bring you joy, pursuing the types of things now that you will want to do in the future. Is there is a need for all these things. One thing is not greater than another. Yes, we need heating in our house. We need heating more than we need art. But I can tell you, and I think everybody listening to this can absolutely agree, that we need art just as much as we need, the basic things in life. Right? We need things that bring us joy. We need things that bring us creativity and passion. And so, does that not just directly contradict with what I just said? Did I not just say I've got to pay my bills and I have to have my basic needs met before I can do anything else? You tell me. I'd love to hear in the comments that contradict what I just said. Or does it work in tandem? Do we have to have both to live like a very well-rounded, what am I trying to say? Well-rounded and complete, very complete existence, right? You tell me, like when you work, like my husband and I have this conversation all the time, like, are we working to live or are we living to work? Right? Do we spend all of our time making sure that everything we do is rooted in this belief that we have to work, that we have to live to work? Everything we have to do is so that we can work. Or are we working so we can provide a lifestyle for ourselves? Not even a lifestyle, just a life. Like lifestyle gets embroiled and mixed up in all of the like grand ideas that don't live outside your means and don't want more than you have and just be happy with what you're given and find happiness in what you have. And not that those necessarily are bad things, but they certainly don't motivate us. They don't push us. They don't push us to get more, to want more, to have more, to do more, or to do or have or want things that we do want. We all want. Do you want to go on vacation ever at any point in your whole entire life? Maybe even not Disneyland, but do you ever want to leave your job and go to a movie, go out to eat at a restaurant, go visit a friend in another city or another state or maybe even another country? Like those are basic needs. Living inside this little box that either is a house or a city or just a neighborhood, like as humans, we are, like to quote Moana, like we are voyagers. That's just who we are. That's how the world was discovered. It wasn't discovered because it was all inhabited. Those people already knew where they lived. It was discovered because other people came and learned about them. They learned about where they lived. They learned that it was inhabited. They learned about their culture. They learned about other foods. Like only certain foods grow in certain regions. So if we never did those things, if we never moved outside of our specific areas, then we would never explore or find any of these things. So there's so much to be said for moving outside of just the things that we call basic needs. We have to expand our horizon and our viewpoint of what things are. Basic needs, what basic needs are. So hopefully that I've been very clear about laying the foundation about really how this kind of initiated, this whole thing got started. But I want to now get into like very specific questions and discuss those very specific questions about what this all mean, what are the ramifications of this, and what do we unwilling or knowingly cause by working for free. So first thing I want to do is talk more about probably like my side of things, and then I'll talk about the parenting side of things. But okay, so one of the things you get a lot when you work for free is somebody saying, oh, well, this will be so good for you. So my husband's an artist. I write. So I do offer a lot of services when it comes to like helping other people write things, or compile things, organize things, things like that. My husband's an artist, so a lot of times he gets asked to draw things for free. I cannot even count the number of times he's been asked to draw things for free because I would give people a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. Like if you see him drawing, he makes it look so effortless and he makes it look so easy. And so in fairness, I think a lot of people are just like, well, you could just whip that out. Not that it doesn't matter, right? You don't pay people for how long it takes. Well, in some circumstances, but when it comes to, like say a cake bakery, right? You don't necessarily pay for a cake from a bakery based on how long it takes them to do it. You pay for what you're getting. You pay for the layers, you pay for the ingredients, you pay for the fillings, you pay for the heights, right? You pay for how big the cake is, how many people it's going to feed. And sometimes we do attach an intrinsic time value to that, but we also know inherently that there is a value placed on the finished product, not necessarily the time it takes to make it. But I will say, especially at church or friendships, people can take advantage of you. And I will say, maybe it's in a very good natured way. We won't make any presumptions or judgments about that. But okay, so when somebody says this will be good for you, who is it good for? Right? A super honest question. Is it good for the person spending all of their time to create this art? Right. And when I say it looks like it wouldn't take my husband very long. Doodling is completely different than like a assignment with specific like caveats, like it has to have this and this and this and this, and I require it to look like this, and I want it, and I want iterations, right? So if you do it and you follow all my instructions but I don't really like it, then I need you to do it again. So it is going to take time, believe it or not, like it or not, what you think or not, it is going to take time. So I'll just ask the question again, who is it good for? So the artists themselves, it all depends on who gets the free work, right? Like, in Hollywood celebrity status, you're going to have a lot of designers give away their products or let people borrow their products, borrow their jewelry, because they know that the exposure that they're going to get from it will be extremely beneficial. But again, who is benefiting from that? Is it the celebrity who gets to wear something? Sure, they look beautiful. This feels like such a ridiculous example to me, and I'm just using it because I think everybody can relate to it. But dressing up, like, sure, I like dressing up as much as the next person, but like wearing a gown that costs tens of thousands of dollars is so ridiculous to me. So will the celebrity benefit? We're going to get off this train pretty soon here, because this is just I just feel like this is like a nonsensical argument or example, but it's like, sure, the celebrity benefits from wearing a gown from tens of thousands, right? Just because we like think, wow, it's like 10 seconds of wow, or like the small minority of people that actually still read magazines. Okay, so let's get off that train. But it's mostly benefiting the person who's getting the free exposure. And that is the point that I want to make. The person who's really benefiting from it is the person whose name gets out there, and the person who gets the exposure for their stuff. Not the person who actually did it for free, right? Okay, so the question is like, who is it actually good for? Is it the worker? Is it the person putting out all the effort? Or is it the person who gets the product for free, or the person saving the money? And I would argue that there definitely are times when it is beneficial, but it would definitely the exposure would have to be so great that the amount of business that you made up for it would have to recoup the cost and the time that you spent on the thing. Now, that also has its own caveats, because you can't ever really recoup the cost of something that you did for free. All you can do is get more business from it than you never would have gotten. So if you hadn't done this for free, how much business would you have gotten, versus you did it for free? Now, how much business do you have? And of course, that must outweigh it by, a great amount. It must outweigh it for a great amount. So this question really isn't for the person doing it for free. Really, this conversation is more about the people trying to get people to work for free, because because we know our value, right? We know the time that it takes. So we'll go back to like real world, real life examples. I know how much time it takes me to review a product, right? On your end, it might look like, well, you get the product in the mail, we ship it to you, and we ship that to you for free, which also let's keep in mind that like the value that is placed on it for how much it costs to buy retail is not what it's costing them to send it to me, right? The companies don't make millions of dollars because they're not marking things up like, you know, a massive amount. So you send the product to me, I get it. And then I think their impression is that it comes in the mail, I take it out of the box, I go sit in front of the camera and I talk about it, but that's not how it works. And a lot of these products I have to, so I do a lot of kitchen and I love that, right? I do need to feed my family. So having kitchen products does meet a basic need, but making gnocchi from scratch is not meeting a basic need. I do not need a gnocchi set. I might want one. And I did get a gnocchi set and I never found time to make gnocchi. So what I just ended up having to do was just talk about how all the individual pieces worked because I never could find time amidst all the free reviews that I have to do to actually make the gnocchi. Okay. On the other hand, I get a lot of clothes. This sweater, I did get for free. I didn't get these glasses for free. But I have gotten pairs of glasses in the past that I reviewed, and those did meet a basic need because I couldn't read anything without these glasses. So that did meet a very basic need. And clothing is one of those that has absolutely been awesome. And I do offer great, I have worked out great partnerships with companies where they are recouping a lot of benefits from me reviewing these clothes. So they're getting a lot from it. I am also getting paid, but I also get a lot from it too, because while I may not be getting paid as much as I would say need, like per hour to sustain my family, I am not having to spend that money on clothes. And that is a basic baseline need. So that's a huge deal. And I love those partnerships. Those partnerships are always so great because they benefit both of us. So that is really, really awesome. Okay. So how do I pay for food and rent and heat and all of those basic needs if compensation is a product that I don't need? So we kind of talked about that a little bit. I thought that question was going somewhere else. It was one I had read previously. But again, like the whole clothing thing, like is a big deal. And it's essential. Like you may not think it's essential. I don't know if you have stepped into the world of buying clothes online. It's a game changer. Like it really is. And Amazon's awesome because you can buy something, you think you like it, you didn't end up liking it and you return it, but it is still a hassle. So honestly, what I do, why do you need somebody to review clothes for you? Well, you can see how it looks on a real body. You can see how it looks on a person that, is the same size and shape and body build as you. You can also see, like, for instance, one dress that we got, I thought it was so beautiful. I thought it was so, so cute. It was a summer dress. It had straps. It was a dark blue with yellow and black on it. And I thought it would look so cute. It came in the mail and it literally looked like someone took a paintbrush and like flicked all the black specks on it. And then it looked like some of the paint flecks were like too big. And so it like dripped down. And it was not artistic in any way. It was not like, like modern art. This is so interesting. No, it looked terrible. It looked absolutely terrible. So, and I'm very honest, and my friends have said to me before, well, I don't know, like you get paid to do these reviews. I was like, well, not all of them. First of all, let's just keep that fact clear and present. But how do I know that you are telling the truth? So we'll take a little side tangent. How do you know if somebody is telling the truth in a product review? Well, this isn't a fail-safe, but one thing to look for is, do they rave about it? Do they rave and rave and rave about it? Then they probably really like it. If they do a review more like, this product was sent to me for a review, and they don't ever talk about how they feel about it, you can pretty much guess how they feel about it is not rave, rave, rave reviews. So that's always what I tell people. I often say things like, hey, let me just show, let me point out these things about it. And then it will be like the obvious things that I don't love about it. This talking hamster, and for me, I don't review a lot of stuff that I just don't like, because if I don't like it and it doesn't result in commissions, then I don't make any money again. So a lot of times, companies will be like, well, we have a very, very high selling product, so we know you'll make money off of it because a lot of people buy it, and then I'll get commissions off of it. But if I don't agree, or say they don't have those high commissions, then there's no guarantee I will make money off of it. And if I review something that I don't think people should buy, or I know it's going to break, I know, it won't fit right, then there's no benefit to me reviewing it. So we do have a lot of stuff that we end up donating that doesn't fit our needs. So I will just give that off. But that goes along with, how do we pay for these things? You can say, hey, you can get this product for free and you'll make money off of it, but there's no guarantee that you're going to make money off of it. So, okay. Now let's talk about starting a business and getting clientele, right? When we used to apartment managed for a long time, before we had children. And we always loved to move people into their apartments, and we loved to set them up with like basic things. So like we would get them a shower curtain. Number one, because you would be shocked at the number of people that don't use a shower curtain, and the mess and the remodeling and the stuff that we would have to fix because people don't use a shower curtain is unreal. So it was a benefit. It was a benefit to them. It was like a nice touch, but it was also really a benefit to us, because we were like, here's a shower curtain. And we would put it up for them. We would like have it strung across. You would know how to use it. And these are adults, okay? And so it would benefit us, because it would cut out work that we would have to do in the long run from people that didn't use shower curtains. And our management company would always be like, is this an expense we really need? And we would seriously be constantly trying to say, yes, it's a few dollars. It's a few dollars, and it helps everybody. And let's set aside, let's just presume that everybody in the world knows that you should use a shower curtain, or even just a shower liner, not just necessarily a shower curtain, but a shower liner. It is a nice gesture, because when people are moving, I can tell you, we have moved so many times. The really nice thing is to just be able to get into your house and do necessities, right? It's nice to have a bunch of bananas in the kitchen, or apples, because you're tired and you just want a snack to eat. It's nice to be able to go into the bathroom and shower because you have a shower curtain and you have a towel. Maybe you go get them like a $10 bottle of shampoo, right? And you don't even have to get the big ones. You could get a little mini, right? Airbnbs always have that, just little mini size things. Like, treating people with respect and decency goes a long way. So when we were apartment managers, that's what we would do. We would get a shower curtain, a towel, like some mini bottles of little like toiletries. We'd get them a bottle of sparkling cider, sparkling non-alcoholic champagne. So, we didn't know people's preferences, to say, yay, celebrate, you got a new home. We'd stock their fridge with a few things in their pantry, like with some popcorn or something, just to be festive, to be excited for them that they have a new home, because we cared about these people. And then management, right? Management, who's always looking at the bottom line, the black and the red, was always asking, is this worth it? And so I think that is very relevant to this conversation as a whole. Like, when we ask people to work for free, are we valuing them intrinsically as human beings, or are we saying the product matters more than the human behind it, or the money matters vastly more than the human behind doing the work? And in a world where we are valuing chat and AI and Grok and Gemini and all of these digital systems, these AI systems to do the work for us, like, we expect everything to be for free, which it spreads to a larger picture. Because when I was a teenager, you had to pay for full albums. You couldn't just pay for individual. Well, I guess you could buy singles, but typically it was more value to buy the whole album. Or you would have to wait and wait. Remember this, like waiting to listen to a song on the radio and then recording it and getting it at the right time and being right next to it to make sure that you knew that it was going to record, right? So we went from really having to value everything that we had because we knew everything cost money. We had to wait. There was no email. We had to wait and send letters. In fact, a friend was asking me, can we get your kids' email before I had my kids online because they were young? I was like, I think it's fine not to have instant gratification for everything. Honestly, instant gratification is destroying humans. It just is. So we had to wait for everything. And then we entered the era of the internet and everything was free, right? Music was free and maybe it wasn't supposed to be free, but you could get it, right? Movies for free. We moved into this digital era of Netflix and Redbox where it wasn't necessarily free, but it was at a really, really affordable price point. Then everything went to streaming and it just cost a low fee. And now we are back to this age predominantly where everything costs money. How many streaming services do you pay for and you still don't have the stuff you want to watch? My daughter wanted to watch Dead Poet Society the other night. It's a Disney movie. Disney owns it, but it's not on Disney Plus. Of course it's not. It's not on Paramount. It's not on Netflix. It's not on Hallmark. Of course it's not on Hallmark. I'm trying to think. I swear there's one more. Amazon. It's not on Amazon Prime. How many services do we have to pay for? And we still don't have what we want. We still have to pay more. And yet everybody also expects us to work for free. So it all goes hand in hand. It's like people live in a world where they now have these columns. Okay, well, this should be free, but this shouldn't be free. And this should be valued more than something else. And it's really across the board, everything has value. Every human has value. And really, we need to get rid of these columns and just say, what is the value that we place on all these things and give value to the people that are performing the work, right? Okay, so if we are expected to work for free, if society expects us to work for free in certain mediums, what does that say about how we define worth, right? This is going to segue into asking our kids to work for free. So what worth do you have as an individual if you're always told what you give isn't really worth anything? It's not worth a monetary value and it's not worth, giving you something in return for the work that you do. It's very demoralizing. I am constantly saying to myself, why do these companies think that their product is more valuable than my assessment of it, right? Without my reviews on it, there is no product to be purchased. People have to want products in order for people to buy them. And so the value that I bring to the equation is honestly more important than the product because the product alone doesn't have any value until we give it value. We know that there are certain things we need, right? We know that there's clothes we need. We know that there are, kitchen appliances or kitchen knives, silverware, cutlery, right? Plates. We know that those are things that we need. But if we buy those things and they immediately break, then we realize the humans that are using the products then will put that out into the world and say, this has no value, or they'll go return it because it should have lasted. It has value, right? We are placing all this value on these items. And if they don't meet the value that we have placed on them, then they have no value. So as humans, as the human part of the equation, we are helping these brands tell people that their products have worth. They have value. They are worth buying. And so it says a lot when these companies come to me and say, it doesn't really matter what you think of it. We just need a warm body, which let's not even go there, but we're going to go there, is why everything you see online is AI generated. And I'm not just talking about advertisements, right? That horrible Coca-Cola Christmas advertisement. And I'm not just talking about, all the stuff that they've done with the Coldplay the CEO and at the Coldplay concert, right? Yes, that's all AI generated. I'm talking about when you go buy a product all the pictures of it are AI generated because they don't want to pay people like me and you to show off it in real life. They don't value that we give it value. And it's maddening. It's crazy. So you tell me, I would love to hear what you think. Would you rather see a person, like a real human being in a real body that's not been airbrushed, that's not been some Barbieified version wearing clothes, or would you rather see a real human? Did I say that right? Would you rather see a real human wearing clothes that you want to buy for yourself, or would you rather see some AI version where it doesn't lay right, it doesn't fit right, that's not really how big the armholes are on it, that's not really where the ties are, that's not really where it cinches across the waist, right? Because I know, because I review these clothes all the time, that they don't always fit the way that they say that they're supposed to fit. And I think ultimately what they do is end up reaching out to me because they get all these returns. They're like, oh, well, now we're stuck. Now we have to because, and now we have to. Anyway, okay, so let's segue this into the parenting aspect of it, because that's really what got me on this. Well, that was the natural train that I took from, well, all these people expect me to work for free. Well, what do I expect from my kids? Now, I think, well, it's not even me. It's not even what I think. Working is an inherent part of living. And it's not our society. It's not our culture. Like, human beings have more productivity, but more self-worth when they work hard for the things they have. The truth is, we just do not value the things that we do not work for. And that is just universally true, psychologically proven. Study after study has been done that humans just in general do not value things that they didn't work for. So it is so essential that as parents, we give our children opportunities to work for the things that matter so that they gain an appreciation for the things that they have. Now, I will go back to the very beginning. Now, we do as parents have a responsibility to provide basic needs for our kids. And I will just state for the record that I think it is wrong to ask our children to do things simply because we're their parents. I think that takes advantage of people. I think that is no different than a company saying to me, well, I'll give you this product for free. And, you got the product for free. So just do what I'm asking. I see no difference in that. Okay, the point number 2 that I will make is, so yes, we all need to work. We all need incentive to work. Tell me the last thing you did and you had zero incentive to do it. You cannot come up with anything. You just can't, because it does not exist. You sleep because your incentive is that you're tired and your body needs rest. You eat because your incentive is that your body is hungry and needs fuel. Or, that is one incentive, right? I eat all the time because I think stuff tastes good. You work because you get a benefit from it. You get a reward from it. You get money from it. Everything we do, right? It could be passion. It could be a desire, a love, entertainment. Every single thing that we do is incentive. And even with kids, even if their incentive is just to make mom and dad happy or not make mom and dad mad, that's their incentive for doing it. But it's not really sustainable. So we have had this conversation in our house. So with our review business, we started hiring our kids to post the reviews on YouTube. There's a lot of tedious work. Into getting a product for review, assessing the product, using the product, trying out the product, seeing if the product is durable, researching the product, seeing what the customer complaints are, and then testing out those, see if they fixed them, using it in real world scenarios. Excuse me, I got a shirt for my daughter once and it ripped the second time she wore it. We put it on, we looked at it for the review. The truth is, clothes do look better first time, so we try and review them right away, but I do check the seams and stuff. Second time she wore it, it ripped. And I was like, Okay, I'm going to have to put a little more thought into that one because I genuinely don't want to be recommending products that aren't good. Okay, so and then there's the tediousness of then posting it, right? So you post it on YouTube. You need to include the link because what's the point in reviewing something if people can't then buy it, right? Posting the link, making sure the search terms are searchable, accessible, uploading the video, a thumbnail. It's just a ton of work. So we decided to start hiring our kids to do this. And then what do we pay them? We're not making money off of it. At the time, we weren't yet. Thankfully, we are now. But at the time we weren't. So what do we say? Do we say, hey, you guys, we're not making money yet, so you can't make money. We're doing the work. You have to do the work. Because really, this was a goal that we had to be able to make money doing this. And we met that goal. So that is awesome. But it wasn't our kids' goal. Our children did not have the goal of doing reviews and making money off of it. We were trying to show them that in the world we live in now in 2026 or 2020, earlier in the 2020s, that there is no limit to the types of things you can do, the type of interest that you can have, and you can make money off those interests. And I will say with children, like children need to explore a lot of things to figure out what they want. If you can remember way back when you were a wee little one, you'll remember that's a lot of what school is about. That's a lot of what extracurricular activities are about, right? We put our kids in all these sorts of activities so they can have exposure to a lot of things and figure out what they love. You can't know if you love playing the piano if you never play the piano. You can't know if you love baking if you never try baking, or riding a bike, or doing different types of sports, or different types of athletics. I know, same thing. There are just so many things you need to be exposed to. So we considered this one of those things. And as homeschool parents, sometimes those can overlap, or actually all the time, those things can overlap. We can count this as your schooling, which, is required. These are basic requirements as a parent that we need to teach you, and we can do that. But at the end of the day, it was like they weren't putting the right amount of effort into it. They weren't putting the detail. They weren't being detail oriented. And so we sat down, my husband and I sat down and asked these questions like, do we work without incentive? Why are we expecting our kids to work without incentive? Because I'll tell you what, incentive for your children to say this counts as your homeschool is not incentive to them, right? We're the ones who have to meet the requirements, yes, them, but not them, right? So we found that when we flipped the script and we were like, okay, we need to find what incentivizes our children to work. We discovered that we could get a lot, not only more work out of them, but we could get much better quality work, and we could really get them to find their own passion for it, right? So a little bit of money can do, because really people want to say you can't buy money with happiness. You can buy a lot of stuff that brings happiness with money. I can't stand that saying, like money doesn't make you happy. You know what does make you happy? Not suffering. You know what does make you happy? Not skating, not skating, but not scraping by, right? That makes you happy. Not wondering where you're going to have money for things. Not hoping that you have enough to pay your bills. Right? I'll tell you what, those are the things that don't make you happy. Money takes away those things. Okay, so let's shift from actually paying your children to do work, right? As a family business, that is work. My husband also has a YouTube channel, and we have hired our kids to do that. So now they took this one skill set and they blew it up into multiple skill sets, right? Then they wanted to start to learn how to edit videos. They wanted to start their own YouTube channels. And they discovered this thing that we exposed them to and figured out what incentive they needed to do it well. And now it has ballooned into this multifaceted project. And that is what is so, right? First of all, it's amazing about raising children. And then second of all, it's amazing about the potential of everything, the potential of taking a seed and blossoming it into something like amazing, right? And that all comes from God. I'm just going to, do a little praise moment here, because if we just reflect for a little bit on all the things that are miraculous in the world that we really take for granted, we would see God in more of our everyday lives. And a seed, of course, is a biblical representation of what can be planted and what can grow from that. But that representation, that parable works in our lives every single day. We plant seeds with our children. We plant seeds in our relationships. We plant seeds with each other, and those seeds grow. So the seed that we found when we started saying, hey, we recognize that everybody has an inherent value. And what is the incentive to make the product viable? It turned into, right, this huge passion project for everybody. And everybody found out that they had a lot of passion when it came to discovering things that they wanted to do with editing, YouTube, humor, entertainment, art, reviewing, working with brands, working with partnerships. I mean, there's so much, and we don't have to be limited. I am all for entrepreneurship. I'm all for businesses, and having businesses means having employees. I have worked for dozens of companies over my life, and every single one of those companies have taught me valuable lessons that I can then take into my own life and teach to my kids, and they will continue to get more value and experience through the experiences that they have and the things that they learn how to do. But when we recognize that all people have value, then we are able to learn from each other. So that was, my big circular thing right there. Okay. So I think the last thing I will ask, and then, okay, well, we'll get there. I think the last thing I want to ask is, okay, actually two things. So when we work for free, we are inherently teaching our children that they don't have value either. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? Because, man, it is a wake up call to have kids and realize that they talk the way you talk. They have the same temper that you have. They have the same inflections that you have. They react to situations the same way that you do. Like, they are learning from you every day, all the time, in everything that you do. And those are the physical things, right? Those are the physical manifestations of it, but also the things that they just witness, the things that they observe, the things that they see under the radar. And one of those is accepting jobs for free and saying, what are you saying? What are you actually vocalizing out loud that you don't actually hear yourself saying, but the kids hear, right? Things like, well, this will be good because I'm not really that good at something yet. Or, well, this will be good for me because I don't really know what I'm doing yet. Or, this will be good for me because I just don't think people would want to pay me for this. Or, this will be good for me because I'm not very good at it, right? Those are very damaging things to say to ourselves. They're also really, really damaging to say out loud when our children overhear it, because then they start to hear those things. I have been looking and searching, and if anybody can tell me, please leave a comment and tell me. But I heard this woman speaking, and it was really such a beautiful speech about criticism. And I wish that I knew where it was. I wish I had saved it. I want to rewatch it and save it and look back on it. But she said that one thing that she stopped doing was criticizing, and it changed everything about her life. And the first person she stopped criticizing was herself. Totally gonna start crying. So she would go in the mirror in the morning, right? Because we all look at ourselves when we're brushing our teeth, we're brushing our hair, and we wake up in the morning. And she said she stopped looking at herself and finding flaws. And she stopped criticizing herself. She stopped hearing the things that she heard other people say, and she flipped them around. So instead of saying, I don't know, like, I don't like the way my body looks, she says, look at all these things that my body has accomplished. And it just completely changed. Because I will tell you, this is just a little, I will just tell you that nobody thinks of you the way that you think of yourself. You are your own worst enemy. And I know that. I know that. And we do not want to teach our children that. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, you do not want to teach your children those self-destructive thoughts. Like, we should all stop criticizing ourselves and then stop criticizing others, because there's no benefit in it whatsoever. When we back talk behind people's backs and think of all the things that they're doing wrong, right? We like to lie to ourselves and say, well, I'm just doing it because I wouldn't do those things. Like, you also haven't walked in their shoes, right? There isn't anybody who we couldn't love if we didn't know their story. And that's so beautiful. Okay. And then let's ask the question, when does working for free, or at what point does working for free turn into exploitation? And that's an ugly word, right? Because there's so much like nuanced underlying connotations involved in the word exploitation, but it's true. When you expect people to do anything for free, it is exploiting them. And then especially if you have an expectation and they don't have any boundaries, right? And that's really easy to take advantage of. And that can get really, really harmful and ugly. And I know that as parents, we don't want to exploit our kids, right? And we don't mean to. We have good intentions. We don't want to teach them that they have no value, but we are a little bit. We are a lot, right? So to wrap it up, I feel like the big takeaway for me is, as human beings, we have intrinsic value. And our parents help us learn what value we have. If we don't learn what value we have, then we can't treat ourselves in high regard. And at the end of the day, we should all have people around us that love us and take care of us. But at the end of the day, we really have to preserve our own self-worth and ask from others what we need for ourselves. And that is to have a level of worth that is attached to every person. So working for free in whatever manner that is, whether we do that as an adult, as an influencer, as an artist, as a business owner, when we work for free, we are saying we don't have value enough to be paid for that. And when we provide a service, we should be paid for that. As children have expectations to learn and grow. What do we say in our house? We say, our responsibility as parents is to teach and nurture, and your responsibility as children is to learn and grow. So we provide opportunities for our children in order to be able to do that. But when we ask them to do something that uses the worth that they possess, then we should pay them for that. So some of the other things that I pay my children for, in addition to working for the family business, right? Or working for let's not even call it the family business. It has become that. But in the beginning, when it was being built up, it was a business that my husband and I decided to build. And we elicited we elicited the help of our children to help raise it up. In addition to that, my daughter decided that she wanted to learn how to make jewelry. I am a middle-aged woman and I love jewelry. I love it. And I have had friends who have made it, but it has never been something that I have thought I should learn how to do that. But my daughter did. And so I encouraged her by taking her out, and I bought her like all the supplies. She told me she wanted to start an Etsy shop. And yes, I know kids do this. They decide they want to do something one day and the next day they don't. And in her defense, it does work that way. Sometimes I've seen a couple reels on this. Like, sometimes when a passion becomes work, it's no longer fun anymore. So she did start the Etsy shop. She tried it. It became work. And so, you know what I started doing? I started paying her to make me jewelry. And that was incentive enough. And then I sell it on Etsy. I haven't done it yet, but that was my plan. And I told her I was going to do that. But that way, she wasn't working for free, right? Yes, she needs to learn how to build up a business, but can she learn with the experience and the support of her parents? Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? A lot of those pieces I love. I should have worn some. I didn't know I was going to bring that up, but I have almost all of my jewelry is now jewelry that she has made. And you know what I did the other day? I went through a bunch of old broken jewelry that I had with the idea that I thought, oh, I will fix someday. I will learn someday. I will fix this. Never did. Anyway, gave it to her. She re-gifted it to me for my birthday. The most amazing jewelry pieces, which was so special to me because she did something that I asked, which as a parent is like, oh, they were listening. But it was so special to me because it was a little bit of old, a little bit of new, a little bit of me, and a little bit of her. It was so cool. So that's really cool. On this channel, Diapers on a Plane, my children have learned how to edit. So now I'm like, if I really want a video edited that I don't want to do, or I don't want to hire somebody else to do, or I need it done quicker than that, I will hire them to do it because they've built up the skill set of learning how to edit, all because we found the incentive of teaching them a skill set. Well, we had the desire to teach them a skill set, and we learned how to incentivize them to learn that skill set, right? Which I will say, of parents with big families, this is so great for your younger kids, because once your older kids learn how to do something and they find passion and love for it and interest in it, it shows your younger kids that it's something that it's fun to do. Okay, so that's another thing that we pay them for. I do pay my children for babysitting because I do not think that older siblings should be expected to watch or take care of their younger siblings. Being a good citizen, being a good human, being a kind human, that is intrinsically built into our moral standard. But if we want to leave the house, I do think that it's right to pay your children to babysit. Now, I don't pay them as much as I would pay a babysitter that I would hire in, because I would expect a lot more from a babysitter that comes from outside of our family. Mostly my kids just get to sit around and do what they always do. They just have to keep, a closer eye, making sure nobody's leaving the house, turning the oven on when it shouldn't be on, all of those things. Yeah. So those are some ideas for you. Okay. If you tuned in with us, thank you everybody for tuning in this week. If you tuned in last week, I did make a comment about how I wanted to, something that has been on my mind is that Charlie Kirk, sadly, on the day that he died, said that over half of his staff were Mormon or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that has just been nagging at me and nagging at me and nagging at me. And I finally figured out why. This is not going to be a discussion or a research or an unveiling or a uncovering. This is just going to be my thoughts about it and making some parallels. But that's going to be next week. Then the week after that, we are going to talk about what happens when going to church isn't safe anymore. So all these topics that I like to talk about, I love when you guys join me for my discussion. I love to hear your comments and just have all these thoughts about it. But all of these things are just really, really relevant in my daily life. And this is like just my outlet, right? To discuss them with people with like-minded thoughts, to just put them out there, to kind of honestly just take quiet time to kind of just think about my thoughts. We all need that, right? We all need that time to ourselves. So, all right. So those are the next two. After that, we will see. I would love to hear from you what you would want, what you would like to hear about, what you would like to discuss, what you would like to hear, just like kind of a thoughtful dissertation on, right? Okay. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. It's always fun to do these. I really, really do look forward to them. Maybe that's, a little bit narcissistic of me. I don't know, whatever. But, everybody now in this time of life can have a platform, and this is mine. So have a great day, guys. Have a blessed day, and we'll catch you next week.